How's it going, everybody? So today we're going to be going here. This is Moab Giants, which is a really cool dinosaur place. You can see a dinosaur right there. It's like a modern day dinosaur's mad at me, but it's a really cool place that has like a lot of cool dinosaur statues and a little bit of a museum. So we're going to be checking this out. It's going to be really cool. Very excited. We got some tracks right here. You can see like the 3 toes of a theropod dinosaur. Now, the biggest selling point of this is, of course, there's like a little bit of a dinosaur trail, which is where we're headed right now. See, I don't lie, dinosaur trail. There's a bunch of like really cool statues on here that are just really cool to look at. So yeah, it like goes through, we start off all the way in the late Triassic, which the late Triassic is where the first known dinosaurs appear. So that's very cool. It's very fitting. So first up are some coelophysids over here. Look at them. Look at these little fellas. Look at the way they look. We got like one up there and a few over there. It's very cool stuff. Probably can't spend too much time on everything. You can tell just by looking at these guys that these are basal sauropodomorphs. You know, it's just very, very typical. Like basal sauropodomorphs, of course, they saw the rise of the later, more derived, large sauropods that we know and love, like Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus and all that. Got a very cool look about them, of course. I quite like them. I love basal sauropodomorphs. Oh my gosh, foreshadowing subtly. Over here we have another basal sauropodomorph, or as this of course says, prosauropods. These are mostly based off of the tracks that they're finding right here. You see them, of course, again, they're still very different from the more derived sauropods that we all know and love. But it really shows how crazy evolution can be. Because at this time, especially considering the fact that both theropods and sauropods branched off from each other, they had a very similar body plan to each other. And that is very much represented here. Oh yeah, these guys are cool. Yeah, and then this fella, he sees you off, you go into the Jurassic period, which is when dinosaurs really kind of started to take off. Like Dinosauria as a clade, it became a lot more widespread and a lot more diverse as dinosaurs became like the most dominant land animals. That filled all kinds of those niches, you know? This is one that a lot of people like. It's Gojirasaurus, of course, named after Godzilla, Gojira. I like this fella. Back when I made like a video, the last time I came to this place, I actually used this fella as the thumbnail because it's got like a really cool look about it. And again, these statues are just very cool looking. Especially love like the small amounts of feathers that they give them. And their whole body is pretty cool, despite the fact that their arms, their wrists, they're breaking. Why are you mutilating yourself, man? Why are you doing that? They are shrink wrapped too, a little bit. Like you can see many details of the skull, but they're still very cool, of course. Scutellosaurus right here. These little fellas are really cool, covered in osteoderms as well. And again, they just still have like sparse amounts of feathers, which I think is very cool. You know, kind of like implementing feathers similar to the way like hair is on mammals modern day. Look at those two. Look at them fight each other. We're gonna see you in like 2 seconds. Oh, these are Scelidosaurids. Scelidosaurus, there's actually a Scelidosaurus in prehistoric kingdom. Scelidosaurus is a dinosaur that we have a pretty good idea of what it looked like because of how complete it is. These guys look sick though. Yeah, they're covered in osteoderms too. They got like a really cool look about them. Really like these models too. Sarcosaurus right here. Those are the 2 fellas that were fighting each other. Pretty dang cool though. Look at them. Again, sparse feathers look really cool. And especially with that backdrop of the mesa in the background. Yeah, Moab's just like really cool in terms of its scenery. You gotta love it, right? Yes. So the track marker example says that it's Ceratosaurus species, so probably like an unnamed. Yeah, no, they got the whole body plan correct, like sparse feathers again, and the osteoderms on the back, which is something that Ceratosaurus did have. Still breaking the arms though, but yeah, they got the 3 crests on their head, and it just look very cool. And there's quite a few of them as well. There's like some of these statues, it's just like there's a lot of them. So it looks like this fella right here is Plateosaurus, which is my favorite basal sauropodomorph. It looks like they have some very interesting structures on like their head and on their tail, the base of their tail. The head shape looks pretty dang correct, and the whole body, they are bipedal as well. Plateosaurus was a bipedal dinosaur. Although the interesting thing about this is that we're in the Jurassic, and Plateosaurus, of course, was a Triassic dinosaur. But still, looks very cool. So it looks like we have a couple of little statues here. This one right here, that looks like it's Camptosaurus, according to that image over there. And then these are Dryosaurs. The Dryosaurs were given like little waddles similar to modern day turkeys. You can see some of them running in the background too. They look awesome. Quite like them. Moving into sauropod territory as well. Got some diplodocoids over there, or diplodokids, including their juveniles. That's gonna be pretty cool. Start moving down. So yeah, we got like these diplodocus up here. They look really, really cool to like stand in front of. Look at that. Looks pretty cool. I like it. They are huge too. These are like one of the largest statues that we have here. For good reason, of course. Sauropods were pretty massive animals. Isn't that right, little fella? Here we have Hesperosaurus. Looks very much like a Stegosaurus here. Plus they're like walking around all bipedally, or at the very least they're like walking up bipedally. Like larger stegosaurs, it's unknown if they could do that, but like smaller one like Kentrosaurus, it's suspected that there was some tracks found of it walking around bipedally. These guys look cool though. They got the osteoderms on top. They got like the thagomizer at the end. I like the head, and I like those feathers that are kind of like localized towards the plates. It just looks really cool. And we got 3 of them. All 3 of them are kind of like walking bipedally a little bit, but it just looks very cool. Oh, we got some ankylosaurs here. What specifically kind of ankylosaur is that? Gargoylesaurus. 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 Gargoyleosaurus. I've never heard of you before. You look cool though. I like you. I like you can see like all of the huge collection of osteoderms on the back. And actually, they don't even like have a tail club. They have like some feathers going down the bottom. So I wonder if Gargoylesaurus is specifically an ankylosaurid, or if it might be a notosaurid. The head shape reminds me of an ankylosaurid, but that specifically reminds me of a notosaurid. If you guys know, which I'm sure I Googled it when I got home, so it might be a little bit redundant, but be sure to let me know.
It's a notosaurid.
Peeking from the bush, you can see another large theropod currently hunting us. I really hope it doesn't have a friend that's gonna ambush us. Oh my God. So yeah, these guys are specifically Allosaurus fragilis, which is one of the most famous species of Allosaurus. And the crests right there look really cool. But they are still breaking their wrists as well. And yeah, we got 2 of them. This one has like a really, really cool dynamic pose as well. This might even be the thumbnail with how cool it is. It's a toss-up between that and the later large theropod that I foreshadowed earlier. But these guys are very cool. I really quite like the way that they look. Now we're moving into the early Cretaceous, which is where some of the more famous dinosaurs exist. Well, not more famous, but like some very famous dinosaurs. Look at that, we even get a dig site here too, which my daughter is probably gonna love for like the next 10 to 15 minutes. But it looks like a lot of the heavy lifting has already been done. You can see probably a sauropod. We got a leg right there. It's pretty big. It is also very hot in Utah right now, which Moab is in a desert, so that probably goes without saying, am I right? Yeah, we have Gallimimus here, absolutely huge. I recorded a little short of it. Gallimimus was the largest ornithomimid, and that is represented quite well right here. With the other side having Utah raptor, in honor of primitive war coming out. This is like really cool. This Utah raptor does have its feathers, and the Gallimimus did too, but not nearly as feathered as it would have been. Utah raptor has like a decent amount of feathers, but it is like missing the feathers that cover most of its hand. Like you almost wouldn't have been able to see its hands in life. But it does have like a little bit of a crown, which I think is cool. Very cool statues. They capture the size of these 2 animals very well because these animals were quite huge. Utah raptor specifically was like the largest dromaeosaur that we know of, which is quite terrifying. What's also really cool is that you can kind of see, like you could tell when it's a dromaeosaur footprint because you mostly just like see the 2 toes that dig in, with the 3rd toe being significantly reduced because of course they hold their sickle claw up. So it's like easy to tell if it's like a dromaeosaur or a troodontid that left the track, which is very cool. This belongs to Dromaeosaurus by the looks of it, which is like the type, like the namesake for the family. These are sauropods. They look like Saltosaurus to me, but I'm not too sure if that's what it is. Yeah, Saltosaurus. Saltosaurus is a sauropod that did have osteoderms, as you can see right here. That is a face only a mother can love. They look really cool though. Again, another large statue that they have here, which makes sense. The sauropods definitely need to be huge if they're to be done justice, at least most of them. Dinosaur crossing. Oh, what are these little fellas? I didn't even see them. They're like hidden by the bushes. What do we got here? Tanicolegrius. Tanicolegrius, that's interesting. They look like interesting little fellas. Ooh, and then hidden over there, we have the high-spined lizard. Probably the only Carcharodontosaur that we'll see here, that being Acrocanthosaurus, and they look really good right here, especially with the way that those tall neural spines are situated. Like Acrocanthosaurus, it's called the high-spined lizard because it did have tall, extended, like neural spines that extended from the vertebrae. Earlier depictions kind of made it look like a small sail, kind of like Spinosaurus, but more recent analysis suggests that they had the proper muscle attachment points for like a hump-like structure, which is how these are portrayed. So these guys are accurate in that department, and they just look really cool. The skull shape is spot on, and I love all those little details on like the lacrimal. Hands are breaking, but that's pretty much true for everyone that we've seen so far. They look really good. I like them, and I like the way that they're just kind of like hiding in there. I see those ornithopods being stalked by those dromaeosaurs over there. A few dromaeosaurs. What I like about them is that, of course, they all have like the same pose, so it's like, oh, oh, oh. Yeah, as I kind of figured, these fellows represent Deinonychus, which is actually what the Jurassic Park Velociraptor is based off of. It's a whole huge story, but yeah, that's what it is. Of course, these fellows do have feathers. The feathers aren't quite covering the hands quite properly, but the head shape looks pretty decent, and it does have a tail fan. Yeah, you're dead. And that sign over there did say that these... say that these fellas are iguanodon, which I don't know if they're supposed to be represented in a North American setting with Deinonychus chasing them. Of course, iguanodon did not live with Deinonychus. This is like a European Utahraptor situation, unless that Utahraptor that we saw over there was the European Utahraptor, which doesn't exist, by the way. It's a whole thing. Because in Walking with Dinosaurs, Utahraptor showed up in the European segment. Though, as Iguanodon, this does look pretty good, especially with those hands. Those hands look very spot on. Are these No, these are not Deinonychus. What are these? Oh, Velociraptor mongoliensis. So obviously, we're getting more than just North American species here, which probably went without saying. I think we did see some non-North American species. But yeah, that's Velociraptor, feathered like it was, though again, the hands are not completely covered. And yet again, Iguanodon was not hunted by these fellas. I don't know if these fellas are specifically hunting them. It looks like they're teaming up with their North American cousins to take them down, which might need to. And yeah, these are actually pretty, like, decently accurate in size too. They might be a little bit large, but they are pretty darn accurate. I really like the way that these pterosaurs look, though. What specifically are they? Zacianopteryx? That's cool. They look really good. I really quite like them. That one's flying in the background too. Very cool stuff. We are entering the late Cretaceous, which means Velociraptor, of course, should be in the late Cretaceous portion, but that's okay. Deinonychus was an early Cretaceous. Actually, Gallimimus should be late Cretaceous as well. Whoops, but anyway, we're going into the late Cretaceous now. We just have some time travelers back there. It's fine. Look at those guys, Oviraptorosaurs. Oh. Apparently these are Nothronychus. Okay, so they're Therizinosaurids. I mean, they got like the proper, Therizinosaurs, obviously they have these huge claws represented by fingers. Therizinosaurus had the longest. Nothronychus did have shorter, but I think they might have been a bit larger than that. They're pretty cool though. They do have like the kind of little bit more upright stance that Therizinosaurs typically are portrayed with. These are Chirostenotes, I think. Right there, of course, it is an Oviraptorosaur. Very cool crests on these guys, I gotta say. Like, I like the way that they look. My daughter's roaring at them right now. Of course, these are Parasaurolophus right here. Very interestingly, they do have like the flap of skin that attaches their crest to their neck, which is very cool. Sparse feathers again, and they do have a lot of bulk, though those necks are not nearly as beefy as they probably should be. But I like the way that they look. They do have the huge size that Parasaurolophus did have. These look like they could be baby Triceratops, but they're not. These are Avaceratops. Look at them. These fellas are quite grown. That is a face right there. That is a face. But I like them. We got like 3 of them. There's one hidden back there. Very cool. And they got some water, kind of, in a way. Yeah, these look like Albertosaurus right here. At least they kind of have that shape about them. That's sort of like Albertosaurine. Oh no, spoilers, don't look. Albertosaurine look about them. Yeah, Albertosaurus sarcophagus. Obviously the species. They look cool though. I quite like them, especially with the structures they have on their lacrimal, the sparse feathers. I like them. I like the shape of their skull. I think they nailed it. Definitely not as large as their larger cousins, hint, but yeah. These are definitely most likely nodosaurids. Wonder what specifically it is, but man, they're huge too. What do we got here? I assume that they are nodosaurids as they look very similar to nodosaurids, but Niobrarasaurus, I believe. They look interesting. And by interesting, I mean cool, right? They look cool. But of course, the stars of this area, we're gonna look at the ground because spoilers, is the tyrant reptile king itself. You know, it has its own crossing right here. These are, I believe, yeah, these are the largest statues they have here. And that is Tyrannosaurus Rex. They look so cool. They do have like sparse amounts of feathers that cover their back. The hands are facing the proper way too, and their heads are just huge. This camera doesn't really do justice with how huge these guys are. I'll probably take a picture, like my wife will take a picture of me with them. But they're just so flipping cool. And they got like lacrimal horns up there, huge bulk. Like, they're just, oh, look at it staring at you. Look at that. Forward-facing eyes. T-Rex had forward-facing eyes. You could tell. They look so cool, though. I quite like them. So, yeah, those were like, that's the dinosaur walk. We're going to be going into the museum here in a minute. There's also a playground over there. It's very cool, though. Like, you got some really cool stuff here. And the T-Rex is a really cool way to, like, kind of end on a finale. And it kind of works out if you're going through like the geological time period. You start off in the Triassic, go all the way to the late Cretaceous where T-Rex did live. So it's like, it's all structured very nicely. Unless you went in backwards, which would be weird, but you know. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. I don't know, there's a T-Rex head that you can take pictures in. It's pretty cool. You know, it's basically the same head that you can see on the statues back there. It's cool stuff. And of course, we gotta make a stop at the museum. Otherwise, what are we doing? Uh-oh. Footprint. Foot. Here's a map of the area that we're in. We're currently right here. And each of these little footprints represent dinosaur tracks. Now, we will be seeing some tracks that are around arches. It's either those ones or these ones, which I've seen them before, but I don't know which specific ones they are. It's just like leaving Arches National Park. So you should be seeing a video on that here pretty soon, like a short or something. So this fella certainly does look like it would be Quetzalcoatlus, probably the smaller species, Lawsoni. There's no name on it, but still very cool. Asdarchids in general are very cool. So this right here is a Coelophysoid, which is very cool. I love the way that it looks. It's got feathers on it and everything. Just kind of sitting down. Looks very cool. And here's what I was talking about earlier with the raised toe claw. You can really see it in the footprint there where you only have like two noticeable claws with this one raised up. Other footprints here, like this sauropod footprint over here, Brontosaurus specifically, looks very cool. Or this one right here, which is a Stegosaurus, or no, Stegopodus, looks very cool. And there we have a sauropod leg. You could tell by its massive size. Getting the muscles and everything on it. Okay, I thought it was like a 3D model. I was like, okay, look how deep that is. Whew. Heavy animal. Of course, you know, it depends on what it's stepping in. It's a Mamenchisaurus specifically, which is really cool. And look at this little dude. Probably gonna get caught in it and drown, like from, you know, Planet Dinosaur. Oh yeah, this is what I was just talking about. They're gonna get caught in it and drown in the footprints. Yeah, it's like from Planet Dinosaur. And these are Lemosaurus, I believe, these little fellas. Look at them. I quite like them. I like them. They got a really cool look about them. I mean, that guy's not having a good time. Nor is that one. But, oh no, definitely not that one. The tails. Ooh, I guarantee that's Gastonia. Yes, Gastonia. She got a documentary, Walking with Dinosaurs documentary on this fella. That's so cool. You can like see each individual osteoderm and everything too. That's awesome. Footprints. Footprint. 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 Hadrosaur footprint too. So this is like a little replica of like what a prep area looks like, like, you know, for fossil prep. I noticed there's like a little Tyrannus plushie back there. Just something I wanted to note. And then the very famous synapsid known as Dimetrodon. Of course, Dimetrodon is not a reptile. Not a dinosaur, of course. Dinosaurs are reptiles, so that kind of goes without saying. But it is a synapsid, which means it is more closely related to me and you and other mammals than it is to dinosaurs. Very cool skeleton though. Look at those little spines going up. It's a very, very cool animal. There's this little film right here that plays. Here, I'll play it real quick. You have to actually like roll the film, and we have like some edaphosaurs kind of like walking around. I'll roll it. There we go. Currently rolling the film. Edaphosaurus, and then of course Dimetrodon shows up. Dimetrodon did eat. Whoops, I'm going too fast. Did eat. Oh. Yeah, it's just a quick little film. It's very cool. So yeah, the museum portion is pretty dang good, all things considered. I quite like a lot of the things that they have showcased here. What do we have here? Oh, it's a Protoceratops. Oh, cool. Oh, put it down. Now lift it up again. If you ever wondered how we got like 3D footprints, that's how. It basically makes like a little bit of a cast of the footprint that was in that layer. Very cool. Okay, so that was Moab Giants. It is still very hot today. And this is actually the second time we went, because we did go back in 2020, like back when it was just me and my wife. And it looks like there were some changes that happened this time around. Like the museum seemed a little bit different, and there were some extra activities to do. And of course, on top of that, some things I didn't cover is that there is a museum, or sorry, we did do the museum. There's like an aquatic aquarium that has like aquatic creatures. We didn't do that. And there is also a theater that was showing T-Rex, but it's a documentary that I already saw at the Denver Museum. So, you know, but yeah, what do you think, wife?
I liked it a lot. It was fun, and it was nice to see all the statues and stuff. So hope you guys liked watching the video. So